Hey guys, this is Numa. So, today we're going to talk about Christopher Columbus, Representative Assembly events in Virginia, Plymouth Plantation, Roger Williams founded Providence, Rhode Island, King Philip's War, Salem witch trials, and the Great Awakening, and how all these events connect to one another. Let's start off with Christopher Columbus's landing.
Columbus is an Italian explorer and navigator. He had been sponsored by the Spanish royalty for his voyage to find India. In search of India, he had instead landed in what is now called the Bahama Islands. The motives of his voyage were the 3 G's. Gold, which is the reason why he was looking for India in the first place, as to profit off its silks and spices. God, because he wished to spread the ways of Christianity. Glory, because he wished to be the one to find a new route to India. After Columbus's failure in finding India, but instead discovering the New World, other countries were inspired to make new settlements and claim land in the New World as well.
Thank you, Ashley. Now I'll be going over the Representative Assembly events in Virginia. It was the first assembly known as the House of Burgesses, and it consisted of a governor, his council, and 22 burgesses who were elected by the people. This meeting marked the beginning of a representative government in the New World, and the main purpose of this assembly was to establish one equal and uniform government all over Virginia. They covered a wide range of businesses like commercial and economic arrangements for the colony, matters of religion, and relations with the natives. This assembly was important because it created a new democratic society based on law. And as a result of the New World having some settlements and starting to build order, they wanted to expand their settlements in the New World, and that's why they brought over many people on the Mayflower.
Now moving on to the Plymouth Plantation. Pilgrims left England on a boat called the Mayflower, and after 2 months they had finally arrived at what would be named by Captain John Smith, Plymouth, resulting in their colony also being called Plymouth Colony. Because it was their first time, they had encountered many hardships like harsh weather conditions, farming issues, fishing issues, and malnutrition. And in the fall, the colonists had shared their first meal with the natives. This holiday later became known as Thanksgiving. After a while, the Mayflower Compact later became known as the foundational document of the Plymouth Colony. As more and more people started to come over to the New World, they also brought their political and religious beliefs with them. Soon it started to cause conflict to rise between them, leading a certain someone to go off and make a new settlement with higher religious tolerance.
Providence, Rhode Island was founded by Roger Williams in 1636. Before finding it, he took refuge from the Narragansett during the 1635 winter and then bought a piece of land from them that he later named Providence. He advocated separation of state and church in the colony. Rhode Island later became a place for people whose beliefs were denied in other colonies. People like Anabaptists, Quakers, and Jews could worship without interference. Soon after, the colonists started making permanent settlements in the native lands, and the Native Americans started to become more anxious and worried about their land and freedom going away. Because of this, they started to attack the colonists on multiple occasions and repeatedly failed in all of their attempts.
Next is King Philip's War. This war had been between the Native Americans and the colonists. After many attempts to regain their land back, this was the natives' last opportunity to remove the colonists. The war was devastating on both sides. The colonists suffered for many years, and their colonies were completely destroyed and left with a lack of resources and people to start another one. Some of the causes for the war were the colonists' greed for more land to build settlement and the execution of the 3 natives by the colonists. The war made the natives look like savages, and the resistance of natives towards English colonization decreased tremendously. King Philip's War ended the domination of the natives in that region and started a period of colonial expansion. The series of multiple wars led to people doubting women about witchcraft, and the anxiety and stress of the war could account to the reason why the Salem witch trials had begun.
Okay, now moving on to the Salem witch trials. It was a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. It began with some girls who claimed to be possessed by the devil and accused several women of witchcraft. As a result of this, there was a temporary suspension of the colonial charter due to political and religious tension between the colonies and England. Next is the Great Awakening. It took place in England, Scotland, and Germany. It was a spiritual renewal that swept the American colonies during the 18th century. It began in England and moved into the English colonies. Unlike the Puritans, this brought people back to spiritual life, and they felt a greater connection to God. It began in Massachusetts with Jonathan Edwards. At that time, there was no importance of religion and it became old and boring for them, and the Great Awakening was a reaction against that. It developed a new spiritual mindset where Christians would actually worship and be religious. Some of the impacts of the Great Awakening were, it challenged traditional beliefs and thoughts, and it also led to an American will to tolerate religious diversity. The biggest significance was how it prepared America for the War of Independence later on. The colonists realized that they had the political power which the English monarchy didn't have anymore.
Hey, thanks for watching. The video was made with a lot of effort with all the animation, editing, and script writing. I hope it was educational and enjoyable to watch for everyone. The last bit of the video showcases our works cited pages. Feel free to ask questions when the video is over. Programs used to make the video will be listed in the description if you are curious.